I don't know, man. Yeah. So, all right. Speaking of ancient superstitions and everything, we were talking a while ago, and I figured we should do a whole segment on this about the fact that society seems to have gotten significantly dumber over the last 10 years. We did a whole thing about this study that came out showing that kids' reading and math scores seems to have started plummeting around 2012. But it's worse than that. It's worse, in my opinion. This is just from what I've observed. It's worse than that. Kids aren't scoring well on standardized tests anymore. It seems that critical thinking has fallen off a cliff. And I have never seen so much wild conspiracy shit that's just commonplace stuff that you would have been embarrassed to say in the past that I hear people say all the time. And I don't know if Trump is the blame for this or if Trump is the, actually I do know, my guess. Yeah, I'll go to you, John. Like if Trump is like the culmination of all this. Which one do you think is the chicken and the egg here?
I think Trump is the culmination of all of this because I don't think Trump inspires people to be stupider, right? I think that the desire to be stupid predates Trump. And like I feel like we can look at this throughout the course, like just look at movies, and how in the 70s, the biggest blockbuster hits, with the exception of, I guess, Star Wars, which still, even Star Wars at the time was a fairly intellectual sci-fi movie. They're all, single off IPs from artistic auteurs, and now we have Marvel slop. And that happened long before Trump took office. All of these pathways have been converging towards this. We have social media, something we do, TJ, right?
Yeah.
And I will say this to the day that I die. I don't deserve the platform that I have. Like, don't get me wrong. I appreciate it. I think I'm a highly talented and skilled person. But if everyone that listened to me went and listened to the sources that I look at, to make the content I do, we'd probably be better off in the society. But it all of the competing interests of capitalism, of corporate conglomerate media companies eating each other up, of technology evolving into capturing shorter and shorter attention spans. It has all incentivized the creation of less intellectual media. And I mean, it's all the way through, TJ. Like the Gen Z might be more anti-intellectual than any previous generation. And that isn't because of fucking Trump. Like that's a pretty new thing. And it's very sad to see.
Yeah, before I continue on with that, Zeke commented here, love you guys, but just wondering, is Coach D coming tonight? Zeke, we lied to get you to watch the show to make sure, because we knew you like Coach D. No, Coach D had something come up at the last minute, so don't know if he'll be joining us this evening, which is a shame, because Coach D is a fantastic guest. We've had him several times, but if we don't catch him this time, we'll get him on next time around. I agree, John. I think that Trump is the culmination of this anti-intellectual movement that dates back decades. Honestly, I think you could date it back 100 years to the Scopes monkey trial about evolution back in the 1920s. I think that's when we had the first backlash against the eggheads in academia trying to tell us that we came from monkeys, and that it has been downhill ever since. Back in the day, like in around the 2012s or so, I started going on my one-man crusade against religion because I grew up in this fundamental Christian evangelical culture. And I attacked their belief in creation over evolution. They're denying climate change. And I had a lot of people tell me, hey, man, or ask me, hey, TJ, why do you care? Like, what does it matter to you that these people don't believe in evolution and that they take the Bible literally? Well, folks, look around. That's why. That's why I care, because John says this all the time. Like, religion in and of itself does have some social utility. It can have social utility, and in a lot of way it does. And then it has a lot of detriments too. So if you have good things that religion provides and bad things religion provides, isn't it just a wash? And the way John and I think, no, because it relies on you believing things that you cannot validate. It relies on you taking legend and superstition, gut feelings and intuition as fact without any critical examination. And that's how you end up with people like Trump and the millions who agree with him.
You know, TJ, the one thing I'll disagree with you that is
Sure.
that this is something that's been happening for I mean, this is something that is an ongoing, constant, fluctuating battle. I mean, go back to fucking Galileo being imprisoned by the church for saying that the earth revolves around the sun. You know, go back to Socrates being put to death for asking questions. Go back to fucking Eve being stricken from Eden because she dared eat from the tree of knowledge, to go back to creationism. But even that story is anti-intellectual. The creation myth of the Judeo-Christian faiths is anti-intellectual. It literally warns against seeking knowledge. Something that really struck me, like as a kid, like a young kid, I was like, that don't make sense. And I actually, as you grow up, you kind of get it a little bit more.
Yeah.
You get the meaning of the story of like, oh, having knowledge of these things makes you sad, which yeah. You know, ignorance is a paradise, I think, is the actual moral of that story. But you know, this is a constant battle. It's constantly in flux. The thing that I think is very problematic right now, more so than other times, is that it's the particular belief that intellectualism is bad. Like, that is not necessarily new. Again, it's been around for centuries and centuries, but it is at a peak right now of, oh, you got data and evidence, you are some woke liberal loser. It's like, the actual paradigm has been reversed, where trying to be correct, trying to back things up with data and evidence, trying to gather different sources, trying to appeal to authorities and experts in a field, that is all now seen as sheepish thinking. And you should just go from the gut. Like, honestly, it is what the Colbert Report satire was about, and that was a satire 20 years ago. Now it's just what Fox News actually looks like. And it's not even just that, it goes all the way down. Like, if you look at like online discourse around like movies and stuff, like, people are actively resistant to acknowledging nuance, to acknowledging that the main character might have flaws, might do things that you're not supposed to agree with, like all of these things. And you think they aren't really related. Like, how is that related? It's all related. It's all related. The allergy to deep thought and critical thought, it's pervasive, not just through conservatives, not just through MAGA, but it is sweeping across society.
It is. And there's whole genres online of people saying it's not that deep, bro. Most things are that deep. Most things are. I'm sorry.
Most things are actually way deeper than
that. Most things. It's kind of like, you ever heard whenever people are reviewing a story, like a literary work, and they talk about, well, this represents this and this symbolizes this, and how annoying that is when you're in high school. And people say, hey, man, sometimes the curtains are just blue. People, let me tell you something. The curtains are never just blue. Never. There's always a reason. Like, the author could have chosen any color. The author could have never said the color at all. The curtains are always blue for a reason. So, yeah, you should look into this stuff, and you shouldn't, like John mentioned, that this, like, referencing data and study and everything, it comes off as nerd shit. What are you doing? Who are you trying to impress and everything? I don't know. I have an example of this, John, that's been on my mind for the last couple of weeks. Are you familiar with Joe Budden and his podcast, or Mark Lamont Hill? Either
so those are names which I definitely recognize. I know Joe Budden is like a black media figure, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like specifically a black culture type of talking head.
Yeah. And Mark Lamont Hill is a fascinating character, actually. A guy, not a character, as a human, but Mark Lamont Hill. I first ran across Mark Lamont Hill when I was really young. We're roughly the same age. He's probably a little bit older than me, maybe 4 or 5 years, I guess. But I would see him on this Fox News show called Red Eye that used to come on late at night on Fox News. And he was on the show a lot. He would pop up every now and then. And I've kind of followed him here and there. He was recently kicked off of CNN, I think, for expressing pro-Palestinian views or whatever. But he's really good. Like, all his political views are solid, and he's fantastic. He's really bright. He's a new member of Joe Budden's podcast. And about a week and a half ago, a clip went viral of him arguing with a member of the podcast about whether the earth is flat, and the guy named Ish. And this isn't the clip that went viral about a week and a half ago. It's a follow-up because Wiz Khalifa came on and said that he thought the earth was flat too. But here's a little interaction from the show to person I was talking about.
Thousands of years of information that determine that the earth is not flat.
That wasn't the point that we were making. The point we were making was they told us X. And he said, who's the they? And you said science. Predicated on science.
Right. And what I'm saying is, for it to be an effective conspiracy, it'd be very difficult for everybody, including people who have left the earth and seen the earth, including all the satellites, including all the technology that is predicated upon the earth not being flat, for all of it to work. The physics wouldn't work. Modern physics wouldn't work if the earth were. Let me ask you a question, and just answer yes or no, and I'll leave it alone. Do you feel like you know enough about science to be able to make an assessment and make a strong case for flat earth?
I've read and I watched a lot of shit. And what I'm gonna say is this: when you listen to people that fly planes, when you listen to pilots and shit, if the earth was round and you stayed in the air long enough, sooner or later the plane would have to tip down. Because
I gotta pause there, John. What the fuck? What the fuck? That part right there is what jumped up. There's a little bit more, but wow, what the fuck? All right, keep going.
You're going around a sphere. They don't. They go straight. The plane never tips down when you're trying to get to wherever you're going.
This nigga's pilot. That's not true. But I hear what you're saying. But what I'm saying is, I'll leave it alone.
Cool.
But you didn't answer my question.
Yo, somebody called.
It was a very simple question. No, I ain't gonna ask again. Do you feel like you know enough about science to be able to defend the flat Earth theory? Because if you don't, then there's no point in having a debate. I'll just ask somebody who does.
No.
Okay, then I'll leave it alone.
Yeah, be quiet, man. Shut up, nigga.
You nigga, the doctor talking. Nigga. What the fuck?
Y'all, we have company.
All right. So there are several clips like this. There are clips from the original one when they first get into a fight. There's clips after the show when they're arguing back and forth, and embarrassing clips of Ish trying to show Mark Lamont Hill, hey, look at all these times scientific theories have been disproven. Why would you believe the scientists now? I mean, it's just breathtaking ignorance. And that's the part that gets me the most. It's okay to not know things. Not everyone can be me. I understand. It's okay to not know things. But not knowing something, but still speaking with that much confidence and arrogance just blows my mind. I can't imagine operating like this. And I think that's kind of the problem, is that people have been taught to just trust their guts, trust their intuition. Don't doubt yourself. No, folks, you should. You talk to a scientist, you talk to someone who's well-versed in any field, they're constantly questioning what they know and checking up on it. But when Mark Lamont Hill asked Ish, hey, do you think you know enough about science to confidently defend flat Earth? His answer was, look, I've seen a lot of videos, and, you talk to people and you wonder why the plane doesn't tip when it flies. Just like third grade science. And just saying that out loud in public to be recorded, that video was recorded and broadcast. It's going to be flying through outer space for trillions of years. Someone's going to run across that. It's like, wow, man, whatever this Earth place was, those folks are pretty dumb. But John, what do you think when you saw that?
I mean, you couldn't be more right here, TJ. I couldn't help but think of the Always Sunny scene where Mac is like, science is wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is literally the argument Mac makes in that scene. And to be clear, there is no form of media that is less subtle about the fact that you should never say anything similar to its main characters as Always Sunny in Philadelphia. If you ever hear yourself say something that could be attributable to an Always Sunny quote, you are in the wrong. and so, yeah, it's... I'm gonna steel man this, TJ. I'm gonna steel man this because at some level, in order to operate in society, you must be willing to make conclusions about things you are entirely unqualified to make conclusions about. Hell, if I told everyone you must do 50 hours of research into a presidential candidate before voting for them, no one would fucking vote besides us, which would, maybe be better for the country. I don't know. But that's not how it works. You have to make decisions based on a small amount of information,
of course,
every single day of your life. And the problem that people get to is not understanding their confidence interval. Like, I couldn't explain necessarily the physics behind how the Earth is round. Like, if I were to give a reasoned analysis to defend the statement that the Earth is round, it would probably sound something similar. Hey, satellites, they go around the Earth. If the Earth wasn't round, how would they continue their orbit? How would we get pictures? Is Google just lying about the Google Earth view? But could I actually explain the physics of that, TJ? Do I have the scientific knowledge required to defend the fact that the Earth is round? No, I don't. And where people then fail is if they hear that and they're like, oh, well, my opinion might be as valid as yours, which isn't true. Because I can point to institutions, I can point to experts, I can point to a lot of people who say the fucking Earth is round. And there's a lot of debate about certain things in science, in economics, in sociology, that you can look at the experts and you can see divided opinions on. And you're going to have to be able to look at what each of them is saying and make a decision for yourself as to what you think is most likely. But the problem a lot of people have is they don't want to do that work. There's 50 other million videos on TikTok to go watch, and it's not really worth it for them to actually dig in and figure out what the answer is for themselves. They would rather, as you alluded to earlier, find their God, their gospel, their source of truth, and just regurgitate that information. Because, whether they grew up religious or not, that is a very clearly defined worldview in the American society of, hey, there is this universal source of truth that is correct, and it filters down. And my morality, my analysis of the world is vertical. It is not horizontal. And that's the problem a lot of people run into there. I am interested to hear your thoughts on how you think all of this then ties back into where we find ourselves at this current moment in America.
Oh, I think it ties in because people like you're correct. I say the same thing when it comes to the Earth being round, is that it's kind of like, so I don't know how old I was when I had this thought, but if you asked your average person, why is the sky blue? Like, what percentage of them do you think could tell you? Like, what percentage of the people? I mean, I'd be shocked if it was 25. I mean, I'd be shocked if it was that high. But that's a question that kids ask all the time. It's like a really basic question that kids run across. Now, maybe someone told them the answer. More likely than not, an adult told them, oh, look it up. Oh, check it out somewhere, because they don't bother knowing. And it doesn't really affect your life. It doesn't matter if you know why the sky is blue. By the way, folks, the reason the sky is blue is because blue is the most easily diffused color in our atmosphere. So it scatters in a stronger signal than the rest of the colors, and that's why we see it. It wouldn't be blue if the atmosphere had a different material or a different composition, but that's why. Now, the same thing happens with a lot of folks in their basic beliefs. Like, for example, the reason the trans issue has become incredibly a nationwide issue is because your fundamental understanding of reality is set pretty early. And 99% of the time, you have men who are, biologically born as men. And then there's women, and they're biologically born the same way. So when someone comes and challenges that, it sounds absurd. It sounds crazy. It's like, oh, I'm not going to inconvenience myself for it. And it falls along the line with global warming, with evolution, a lot of stuff that if you don't have the knowledge in it, in this field, you're just going to go with the conservative interpretation. The round earth is the same way. Like John said, most people couldn't really tell you or give an explanation. They know that you were told the earth was round. You learned that in school. And you're like, well, how do I know? Maybe they probably did teach you guys in science class, but who pays attention to it and everything? So without giving like a giant science lesson on it, I want to give you guys an example. If you're out there and you will run into flat earthers, I'm sure. A good question to ask them is this one right here. Ask them why the moon is upside down in Australia. That is one of my favorite ones to go to when I talk to flat earthers, because they don't have an answer for you. They don't. That if you look at a picture, a video, a movie, any that at night in the northern hemisphere, it will always look like the moon on the left. If you look at one taken in the southern hemisphere, it'll look like the moon on the right. Every fucking time. There is no possible chance that people have a conspiracy that elaborate and that complex that they can hijack every camera, every cell phone, every movie director, all through Australia, Tierra del Fuego, South Africa. The moon is always upside down. An answer they might give you is if you put a picture, oh shit. Where'd it go? Oh, thanks, John. I'd rather do that. He'll teach me that. But
yeah, no, it's okay. I did not teach you how to use this.
Yeah.
So I'm realizing that we're going to have some interesting visuals for this show as we figure out this new system. We're upgrading everything.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a slow process.
Yeah, so that's one of the best ones you can go to, that there's no explanation for it at all on a flat earth. There's several others like it, but that one's the most intuitive and the one that'll be the hardest to answer. But yeah, I think it's because people have, what it's kind of like how they view history, that it hurts so much when you criticize the founding fathers, because their entire life they've been told the founding fathers are good. So if you say anything bad about them, they see it as an attack on the way they view the world. So yeah, if someone comes along and says, oh, actually, the government's been lying to you, that schools are corrupt sometimes, that science isn't always correct, you don't got to trust any of it. And that's a lot more fun. So that's how I see it.
It's not just a lot more fun, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, a hell of a lot easier. Yep.
Don't do your work. Just trust me. I made this point on Threads yesterday, where it's like a lot of people look at fascism and go, how do so many people fall for this? And it's because it's easier. It's way easier to just go, whatever Donald Trump says is right.
Yeah.
It makes your life easier. I mean, in the short term. You don't have to think critically about things. You don't have to determine truth for yourself. You get it handed to you, and then you just operate. That is way easier than having to figure out, this is a trans person who exists.
Yeah.
Before this moment, I thought that there was men and there was women, and we were able to easily distinguish between them by how they looked. Now, I have to think about my own gender and how I express it and how I interpret others' expression of it, and whether or not it is detached from biological sex. And, oh, wait, intersex people do exist. How do they determine what their gender is? How would I feel if I felt like I was a different gender than the one that aligned with? No, that's a hell of a lot of fucking questions when you can just go, biology dummy, there's men and women. What's a woman? Like, that's it. And whenever you go down these trains with these people, they eventually rage quit because there is no actual, like, they don't actually care to do all of that thinking. They just want it done for them.
It's just like religion. It's exactly like religion, where you don't have to worry about morality. You don't have to worry about the nature of the universe, where we all came from, what our goal is. You don't got to worry about any about that. God wrote it down and gave it to you. That's it. So, yeah, I want to see. TD Music wrote, honestly, I think there's a horde of people with low intellectual horsepower that conflate a YouTube rabbit hole with actual research. Unfortunately, they seem to be louder than the rest of us. So I think this kind of goes in what John said, that I don't know if they're louder than us, but what they're saying is more provocative and more interesting. I got to say, honestly, it is that, hey, Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the Earth 2,000 years ago. We're within 2 or 3%, right? And that we've had sailors circumnavigate the planet. We've got it all figured out. The shape of the Earth is not a mystery. That's pretty boring, honestly. When someone comes along and says, actually, there's a giant conspiracy dating back thousands of years of people hiding the shape of the Earth from you for reasons. Ooh, okay, let's go. That's fun. That's a rabbit hole. That's a cool mystery. Everyone, you know what it is? Everyone wants to be smart, or at least everyone wants people to think that they're smart. And when you're someone like TD Music mentioned, someone with low intellectual horsepower, you don't get that feeling very often. People, I guarantee that guy, I was arguing with Mark Lamont Hill. People don't walk up to him and say, wow, you're a really bright guy. You are so smart. That probably never happens to him. So he finds out, oh, everyone else thinks the earth is round. Here's a lane. They haven't studied this. They haven't seen the secrets, the esoteric knowledge like I have. So I'm going to go deep into this bullshit. And that way I can be special. I can be unique. And yeah, it's the dumb person's way of looking cool.
Right. And with that, that is the end of this video. Thank you. If you made it to this point, you might have heard that I grew up in a rich neighborhood, and you might have heard TJ flame me for that. And all I have to say is, well, you probably didn't see me there because you were only recruiting in the poor neighborhoods for the army. Anyway, TJ, since we don't have a guest, how about you just take us away?
You know what? I recruited in poor and rich neighborhoods for the United States Army. A great and brilliant and noble service if I've ever ran across one. If you have any questions about how you could serve your country, the United States Army, feel free to contact TJ Whitehead, TLWJR1@gmail.com. I'll hook you up with the best recruiter available, which is me, so the second best recruiter. Catch you guys later. Oh my God, Hugh Jack.